Welcome to Decision 2020. We have President James Monroe versus President John Quincy Adams. Winner will go on to the next round of the presidential election tournament. It is the 7 p.m. poll closing. The following states have poll closings. Georgia is too close to call. John Quincy Adams has a lead in the state. Indiana, too close to call. James Monroe has a lead in the state. Kentucky is projected to go to John Quincy Adams. South Carolina, too early to call. It is split 50-50. Vermont, projected to go to John Quincy Adams. Virginia, too close to call. John Quincy Adams has a lead in the state. Here's the current electoral map. John Adams with 11 electoral votes. James Monroe with 0 and 49 pending electoral votes. It is now 7:30 and the following states have poll closings. North Carolina, too close to call. James Monroe has a lead in the state. Ohio, too close to call. John Quincy Adams has a lead in the state. West Virginia is projected to go to John Quincy Adams. Indiana projected to go to James Monroe. Virginia projected to go to James Monroe. South Carolina projected to go to James Monroe. Georgia, too close to call. John Quincy Adams has a lead in the state. Here's the current electoral map. John Q. Adams with 16 electoral votes. James Monroe with 33 electoral votes. And pending call with 49 electoral votes. It is now 8 p.m. and the following states have poll closings. Alabama projected to go to James Monroe. Connecticut projected to go to John Quincy Adams. Delaware projected to go to John Quincy Adams. Washington, D.C. projected to go to James Monroe. Florida, too close to call. John Quincy Adams has a lead in the state. Illinois projected to go to John Quincy Adams. Maine, all of Maine projected to go to John Quincy Adams. Massachusetts projected to go to John Quincy Adams. Maryland projected to go to John Q. Adams. Mississippi is projected to go to James Monroe. Missouri projected to go to Monroe. New Hampshire projected to go to John Quincy Adams. New Jersey projected to go to Adams. Oklahoma projected to go to James Monroe. Pennsylvania, too close to call. Monroe and Adams both tied. Rhode Island projected to go to John Quincy Adams. Tennessee projected to go to James Monroe. Ohio, too close to call. John Quincy Adams has a lead in the state. North Carolina projected to go to John Quincy Adams. Georgia, too close to call. It is split 50-50. Here's the current electoral map. John Q. Adams with 108 electoral votes. James Monroe with 79 electoral votes and 83 pending electoral votes. It's now 8:30 p.m. and the following states have poll closings. Arkansas projected to go to James Monroe. Pennsylvania projected to go to Monroe. Ohio projected to go to John Quincy Adams. Georgia projected to go to James Monroe. Florida, too close to call. John Quincy Adams has a lead in the state. John Quincy Adams, 126 electoral votes. James Monroe with 121 and 29 pending electoral votes. It is still anyone's race. There's only a 5 electoral vote difference. We still have 262 electoral votes to call tonight, along with Florida. It could go either way. It is now 9 p.m. and the following states have poll closings. Arizona, too close to call. James Monroe has a lead in the state. Colorado, projected to go to John Quincy Adams. Kansas, projected to go to John Quincy Adams. Louisiana, projected to go to James Monroe. Michigan, projected to go to... Michigan's too close. We're having some technical difficulties here, guys. We will be right back. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. Our technical difficulties have been fixed. James Monroe has a lead in the state of Michigan. Minnesota, projected to go to John Quincy Adams. Nebraska, projected to go to James Monroe. Nebraska's 2nd congressional district, however, is too close to call. John Q. Adams does have a lead in the state. New Mexico, projected to go to John Quincy Adams. New York, projected to go to Adams. North Dakota, and I'm going to assume, South Dakota is going to John Quincy Adams. Texas is too close to call. James Monroe does have a lead in the state. Wisconsin, too close to call. James Monroe has a lead in the state. Wyoming, projected to go to John Quincy Adams. Florida, projected to go to John Q. Adams. Here's the current electoral map. John Adams with 223 electoral votes. James Monroe with 133 and 76 pending electoral votes. Now, this looks like it could be John Quincy Adams' game, but again, the states like California, Oregon, and Washington, which have been polling recently by 2, maybe 2 at the lowest and 12 at the highest for James Monroe. We don't know exactly, but that could also swing back to favor James Monroe. States like Montana, Indy, Idaho, Iowa, they've all been polling at 1%, maybe 5% more than what we expected, but still. 10 p.m. as the following states have poll closings. Iowa, projected to go to James Monroe. As I just said, John Quincy Adams was polling just last week ahead of Monroe by 2 points in this state, but it looks like James Monroe has pulled out in the state. Montana, projected to go to James Monroe. Another state John Quincy Adams was polling ahead in. Nevada, a state he was polling ahead in. He was polling ahead by 5 points in the state, but has won roughly around 10 or 9 points. John Quincy Adams, the projected winner in Nevada. Utah, projected to go to James Monroe. This one was close in the polling, but Monroe has edged out the victory in the state. Arizona, too close to call. James Monroe is ahead in the state. Texas, too close to call. John Quincy Adams. The state has swung to John Quincy Adams' party. Well, they're both from the same party. Wisconsin is projected to go to John Quincy Adams. Michigan, too close to call. James Monroe has a lead in the state. Nebraska's 2nd Congressional District is projected to go to John Quincy Adams. Here's the current electoral map. John Quincy Adams, 240 electoral votes. James Monroe's 148 electoral votes. And 65 pending electoral votes. Now, again, our next calling is going to be the three major West Coast states, along with Idaho and Hawaii. Now, all Monroe has to do are win all of those states, and he might as well have won the presidency and to go into the next round of presidential election tournaments. It's now time for the 11 p.m. poll closings. California, projected to go to James Monroe. Hawaii, projected to go to James Monroe. Idaho, projected to go to James Monroe. Oregon, projected to go to James Monroe, as well as Washington. Arizona, projected to go to John Quincy Adams. Texas is now being projected to go to John Quincy Adams. John Quincy Adams, now, I am shocked as everybody else here tonight, but John Quincy Adams has been elected President of the United States, the 48th President. George Washington, our 46th, and Thomas Jefferson, our 47th. Our 48th President is John Quincy Adams. John Quincy Adams, our 48th President of the United States. Now, he will go on to the next round of presidential elections, and now we are experiencing technical difficulties. But John Quincy, so far, it is James Monroe who is winning the popular vote. It's by 2 points, really. He's 51-49. So, we will be right back as we fix our technical difficulties. Sorry about that, folks. Michigan is projected to go to James Monroe. Here's the current electoral map. I was wrong, folks. Parker doesn't know how to do math. John Quincy Adams has 289 electoral votes to James Monroe's 246. We have no more pending call here tonight. And none of us here are expecting Alaska to be too close to call. Then again, it could be. I've been wrong a lot tonight. But this map is really disjointed. We were not expecting a map like this. A lot of us were expecting Monroe to sweep in the Rust Belt. He lost Wisconsin, Minnesota, Illinois, Ohio. A lot of us. Now, we did expect him to win all of the West Coast states. He lost Nevada. We're expecting Adams to dominate the South. He lost Tennessee, South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas. He lost those states. We're expecting Monroe to win Florida. He lost it. Now, this is why you don't trust news sources. It is now 1 a.m. and the following states have poll closings. Alaska is projected to go to John Quincy Adams. John Quincy Adams has won the state of Alaska, giving him 3 more electoral votes. He was ahead in the state by around 20 points, so that tells you that in the polling. Here's the final electoral map, ladies and gentlemen. John Quincy Adams has won this election with 292 electoral votes. 292 electoral votes, which succeeds 270, gives him over 270. James Monroe, we thank you for participating. Now get out. This is the Catacomb, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe, click that bell for notification, like, comment, and follow my Twitter at ParkCast21.